So the video is going up now. So we're just streaming now. Is this working? I'm not seeing anything here. Starting stream. Stream health is looking good. Okay, so here's the stream. So, okay, that's the stream is starting. Here's the stream. Let's bring you guys in. You shouldn't be muted now. Can I hear you? Can you guys speak?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, we are now live, and welcome to the. I guess this is the inaugural episode of Baking Bread in Trigger Hippie's Bakery. We have with us tonight for everyone's entertainment our good friend Coat, also known as Bakery Champion here. We've got my friend Diablos.
Hello.
We have Ezekiel, who is being quiet
muted?
at the moment because he's muted and got a bit of a cough. Oh, he's
I
there.
am
Great.
here.
Hurrah! Fantastic. We have Spyro sticking up for the Empire.
Of course.
And my good friend
Somebody has to.
Yes, good friend Sydney. So, hi everybody. Well, welcome to the show. And as we were just discussing before this, we're gonna just generally have a quick run through of current events and stuff that's been going off recently that's been making me laugh / kind of want to kill myself because oh my god, the state of the world sometimes. So, before we jump in onto the general nonsense, have any of you guys seen anything recently that was making you laugh or anything? Or shall we jump straight into it? Because I've found some cracking nonsense today. Specifically, well, let's see if we can bring it over and bring up this one because, oh my word, The Guardian. And let's just double check we can actually see this on the actual stream. Is that coming through? That's not coming through.
Any sentence prefaced with "Oh my God, The Guardian" is bound to be interesting.
Yeah, I know, and this one is an absolute doozy. Let me just see if we can get this to come through. I don't know if it's not coming through on the screen at the moment, because you know, first time at this, and of course it's going wrong on the actual screen. Are we getting a display capture of?
No, it seems to be in the top right corner for some reason.
Oh, that's weird. That shouldn't be happening like that. No. Right, that should just be.
Well, it's okay. At least we know what we're doing.
Yeah. This is it. Professionalism at its highest. Yeah, that's me being a bit of a numpty. The Discord needs to be in that particular position, otherwise it doesn't work properly. So we need to bring this in here over there, so I can see what the hell's going off, and bring this over here, and it's still not working. Marvelous.
While our host fixes our technical issues, I believe
Yep.
Spyro had a random fact of the day.
Yeah, go on then, Spyro. Let's hear it. You were saying this something about the Mona Lisa. Go on then.
As I was perusing the QI Twitter page, I noticed the most recent tweet is reads as follows: In 2007, a French researcher used a special camera to discover one of the Mona Lisa's eyebrow hairs, which to me sounds like a very French thing to do.
That's pretty French. That's pretty French.
Truly the mark of a culture that has too much time on its hands.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you wake up in the morning and you're French, what else are you going to do apart from look at eyebrows?
Oh, I don't know. There's always suicide, I guess.
God, could you imagine waking up and remembering your friend?
I can think of worse things, but not money. No, but here's the one we found today. This is an absolute cracker. Apparently there has been a bit of a poll recently, and the Guardian has decided to write this up, and I was rather surprised to find it in the Guardian because the Guardian is saying that women lie twice as often as men. And of course, why do they lie twice as often as men? Because they're nicer than men, apparently. Nicer, but apparently half as trustworthy. And there seems to be a number of different sort of claims being made in here. That this is what makes women so delightful, if untrustworthy. Well, it seems whichever side of whichever side of the born/made debate you favour, you'll find plenty of evidence to support the idea that women are inclined to be kind, and so therefore will tell you all manner of bollocks just to make you happy. In the nature camp, we have the notion that women are biologically programmed to care for the helpless babies, and this means that we not only have to have soft, fat, cuddly, fat-retaining bodies, but our brains are also constructed in such a way as to make us communicative, understanding, and apparently full of shit. So, in the nurture camp, we also hear that women might be coerced into caring, Essentially, what they're saying is that they've found fairly significant evidence that women are twice as likely to lie. And then what we have here is a huge amount of apologetics for why women might be doing this. Now,
I'm curious as to why it took a research team to discover something that seems to have been quite common amongst the male culture for a very long time.
Oh, I know, and I'm sure everyone's dad has got stories of. Is that dress new? Are those shoes new? Oh no, dear, I've had these for ages. You just don't take any notice of what I wear. Actually, I'm quite insulted when she's actually been out and spent 500 quid on a dress. And I know certainly that has been an accurate representation of various people within my family, bless them, from time to time. Now, that may well be because, obviously they don't want to increase conflict and so on, and want to do whatever the hell they want, and then lie about it, so that they don't have to, face the conflict that might happen for, actually owning up to their actions. Now, one of the things I noticed here, one of the oft-noticed distinctions between male and female brain concerns our use of language. Men apparently to process language largely on the left side, while women tend to deal with the language across both hemispheres, so they are using both creative and logical sides of their hemispheres whilst talking. This may explain why girls generally outperform boys at a level of language development, which is something that I personally have never seen or experienced because, I don't know, I was talking much earlier than many other members of my family, and I was talking in sentences rather than words, compared to my sister, who was asleep a lot when she was young. So I don't know exactly how true that particular statement is. I've often found that most
on aggregate it is true. I mean, if you look at the physical differences between male and female brains, men's brains are more connected front to back, whereas women, as it says here, are more connected side to side.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Which makes men better at processing things and women better at processing talking
themselves.
No, that's not fair. But yeah, no, you are right. Women do like a nice, good gas bag. That's absolutely that's fair enough.
I have to wonder here. If women are generally better at talking creatively, why is it when I look at the famous poets of the ages, I don't see? I mean, I'm thinking of Tennyson,
I think this is. I think you make a good point. I was about to bring this up. That you look in every debate field and every literary field, there are certainly plenty of women out there, and I would say certainly throughout history there may have been a certain degree of suppression at some points in history where women haven't been able to access the ability to write and produce works themselves, but. To say that they outperform boys, maybe at the present moment with the current level of education systems we're using, which seem to be slightly more lean towards helping.
I don't know if it's the case that women necessarily didn't have access to, because I hear this claim a lot that women, for societal reasons, were not able to put themselves out there as much as the men were. But things like the creative pursuits have been fairly well open to women for a long time.
Quite.
Because it's the kind of things that they would pursue in the home, and that they would have the space in order to do that whilst the men were working.
And
I think it's something more fundamental than that.
I would agree. I don't quite sure how to put my finger on it, because I mean, if you go back really far in time, back to sort of the Romans and the Greeks, and I know Trigger's talking about the Romans and the Greeks again, but you know, women,
that trigger.
women play an awfully big part of certainly Roman society. They were, you know, they work alongside their menfolk. They in some respects, had quite an equal society. There was definitely mostly, well, it's basically the men were in the Senate and so on, but the women folk were not producing the poetry. It was still the men that were producing the literary work. So I'm not totally certain that this statement being made by the Guardian here is 100% accurate. Maybe it's more, as they say, an intuitive means of processing verbal information. I don't know whether that
I hate to
correlates
use
over
this as an
to
argument,
written.
but this is the Guardian, and they are somewhat notorious for having a careful slant to the things that they produce.
Now,
I'm shocked they published it.
What was I am the fact that they've published it and just sort of, oh well, we lie because we're nicer. It
As the closest thing to a woman here, I can confirm that women do lie more because I've been around a lot of women.
Yeah,
And it's always the same kind of lies. It's always the same kind of lies where they try to be nice to other people. And then after the woman walks away who's wearing a hideous dress, the woman who just complimented it will turn to you and say, "Oh, that's just disgusting. Oh, it's disgusting. Why'd you tell us fucking nice then?"
Yeah, the double-faced bitchy bit. Yes, we've all run into that, I'm sure.
I'm 100%
yes.
sure that makes up for all of the extra lies that women tell for men.
Well, this has been fun. I'm glad we've managed to demonetize
bring it
ourselves
back
on
to
the first
anybody-
ever episode. Yep, go on, Dee.
Why hasn't anybody brought up body language, women flirting? That's
Oh, this isn't strictly about body language, but you make a fair point. There is body language as well is a very good point.
I wonder if there might be an aspect of cultural psychology in there.
Oof.
Because in the modern age, if you look at big businesses, a businessman's only successful if he puts himself out there. Whereas women, at least women are often telling me that they feel uncomfortable when they try and stand out amongst their peers because they're worried what they might think about them.
Yeah, no, you see, I've run into that in business myself, and it's part of the whole women don't ask for raises. Women are afraid of sticking their neck out and standing up in a meeting and going, no, you're wrong, and this is why. And there is a fear there that men don't seem to have, or certainly some men don't seem to have, in doing so, and as a result they.
Well, it's boldness, isn't it? It's being brazen but not being abusive.
But it's
To quote a TV classic, "He who dares wins."
Oof, TV classic. That's the motto of the SAS right there.
I was actually quoting.
So we've basically gone down. Let's have a quick read of the summing up bit here, and none of which is to say that women are better than men, or worse than men, or even fundamentally all that different. They just lie twice as much. Not only can nurture affect us at the genetic level, potentially making us more biologically inclined to be emotionally responsive, but also it seems that all of us have the capacity to be socialized in this way or that, to identify with one sex or another, and for our bodies to respond accordingly. And then lie about it.
So that would explain the whole Kavanaugh thing.
Fantastic segue, sir. Fantastic segue. Yes. No, that's I think we've
This last
had it there.
section was brought to you by the MGTOW Association of Great Britain.
Yes, none of us are ever going to date again after that one. So nicely done. So,
not
guys.
a problem for me. It's okay.
No, well, yes, quite. No, where was it? Where was it? The Kavanaugh stuff. Oh my God. Oh no, that's NAFTA. Where are we?
I did find it very interesting. I saw somebody posted on Twitter that one of the things that she mentioned was that she'd phoned somebody on a cell phone, supposedly after the abuse had happened, and this was supposedly something that happened in 1982, and the first commercial cell phone was in 1984.
Yeah, there have been a number of inconsistencies with that whole thing, haven't there?
That's pretty amazing to have made.
She's
the first...
actually from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
This is just a big elaborate
that
sham
would
for
mean
the
that
next
she
movie
made-
being released.
That would mean that she made the first ever cell phone call and to report abuse at the same. That's quite incredible.
It's yeah, that's quite the
Speaking of women lying,
But well, oh, yeah. Well, this is interesting because if she did make the call via a mobile phone, it kind of exonerates Kavanaugh, doesn't it? Because, quite frankly, if she made that call, then it was 2 years after the claim that she thought it was, the date that she thought it was, even though she's not quite sure of the date. That would have made Kavanaugh actually, not there at that time. Not that he was there anyway, because he's got his calendars and stuff that seem to be quite thorough. So
The other thing is, of course, is what the hell 16-year-old could afford a mobile phone in the 1980s?
oh god, I know. And have you seen a mobile phone in the 1980s?
It was the size of a house brick.
Oh, the size of a briefcase, sir. They were
House
massive.
brick? You're lucky.
I was going to
Goodness me.
say, that was a high-tech phone in those days. No, these things were like a briefcase, and they weighed a good 15 kilos as well. They were heavy. They were basically a lead oxide battery with a transmitter, an old, big, heavy
Well, I'm talking
transmitter.
about a proper cell phone like you'd hold in your hand, not a
Yeah.
briefcase.
Yeah, no. The first mobile phones...
1984 was when those were invented.
1984.
Interesting that they were invented in 1984, I think. Given what mobile phones or mobile computers as they are now are used for at the moment.
Okay, just so we know, can everyone see that on the? Is that on the stream there? No, it's not on the stream. We will. Let's just.
Yeah. So
Is that coming up? Right. Okay. Yeah. So you can see what I'm putting up on the screen. That was a cell phone in 1984. Okay, just so people know. Yeah. So this is what she was carrying around with her, and potentially and making
Yeah.
phone calls with. I
You
put it to
couldn't
you
put
that-
it in your bra, could you?
It's not something you could keep in your bra. It is also something you could quite happily drop on somebody and kill them as a self-defense mechanism. And we had other ones.
Batter down a door with it.
There was another one there, and you know what? Even if she had a really really up to date, that the best of the best would have looked like this Dyna LLC thing here, which we're going to see coming up any second now. I've just clicked on it on the. God, there's a delay on the stream, and it's knocking my. There we are. Again, I mean, yeah, this one's the size of a house brick. It's about the weight of a house brick as well. I mean, I remember these things. They were hefty. So she was using one of those. She was carrying it around with her. She would have had to have a bag.
2 years early.
There's a lot of spurious things, and
What about a car phone, perhaps?
Well, she said she was walking around with a mobile phone.
Yeah.
I believe is what she said.
so
She said she was walking around with it, and as the signal on those is about 6 inches, I'm quite impressed.
what was interesting is that the whole sort of listen and believe women thing seems to have.
Well, that was bound to come up.
Well, that would be a bit hard on one of those phones.
No, I was going to say it.
well, the first one you were showing, it seems more likely she'd call an artillery strike with that than report a sexual assault. But
Is it still listen and believe if they're sending it in Morse code?
Now, what was the
interpret and believe?
what was the prosecutor that they were using? What was her name? Was it Rachel Mitchell or somebody?
I don't know.
Rachel Mitchell questioning Kavanaugh. Have you heard the memo that she's brought out about the Kavanaugh hearing?
all the things she cited about why it made no sense.
Because yeah, she's actually written quite an interesting memo about the whole thing. And considering she was an independent, she was brought in as a Republican, a delegate, I guess, is a good word for it. But she is a Republican in of herself. But she's been trying sexual assault cases for some 20-odd years. Prosecuting rather, yeah, on behalf of women, and putting sexual assaulters in jail. and she's basically turned around and said the witness is not credible. And we can go through the memo if you like, but there's quite a few posts about it, and I believe Tim Pool did a fairly thorough video on that yesterday. So without completely sort of repeating what he said, it seems to sort of point out that, while she's suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder and anxiety of flying, she seems to manage to fly a great many places for pleasure, and only seems to have had this fear of flying when it involved going to speak to the Senate. Now, I can appreciate speaking to the Senate might be scary. There's so many inconsistencies with this, and it does
sounds like quite a substantial amount of fumbling going on here.
There's something that would make you very nervous about going up and committing perjury. Yes.
Well,
considered maybe she's just full of shit.
Well, here's the thing. I listened to her testimony. She's definitely got some memories of a sexual encounter that she may not have been 100% willing to partake in. The details were weird.
Really?
I listened to it. She's got this sort of vivid memory of the staircase and the room, and the two chaps doing these horrible actions, but can't seem to remember the date, the time. All the people that were there at the party that she's named seem to not agree with her. So it's generally from my mere perspective as an independent observer from a different country altogether, is, oh my god, this seems to be so full of shit and looks like such a massive political hit job. I am in utter dismay at America. Go on, Sydney. Yeah,
First and only time I'm ever going to say that Lindsey Graham got it dead on the head.
What a
was
fucking
his
boss!
Speech in front of the Senate.
What a boss!
It took a lot of balls him to say the things that he said.
Yeah.
I think you should
A
watch
lot
the
of
video.
people suddenly realized, wait a second, I like Lindsey Graham. This is weird.
No one has said that before.
Yeah.
Not only that, but yeah, he's wow, Lindsey Graham's cool. I don't know how that became a thing, but
Yeah. This is it. I'm sat there going, who's this Lindsey Graham chap? And man, he kicks ass. This guy's a politician with some spine. I haven't seen this for a while. I'm very impressed, and I was very impressed with the whole. Yes, we're going to do the FBI investigation, and we're going to do two. Because I want to know why this poor woman's case has been sat around for 2 months and then suddenly released at just the right time to throw a massive spanner in the works for this thing when it could have been investigated.
Convenient.
Yeah, politically convenient is one way of putting it. Yeah.
It certainly seems an interesting curiosity that all of these memories and things happened to come to her in I believe it was an out-of-body experience with a therapist.
Okay, right.
Kinky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
That seems awfully suspicious. I wonder if anybody's looked into that or who the therapist was and what they were doing.
What I found was interesting is actually the amount of deletion of her presence on the internet. Trying to find any history about this Christine Blasey Ford bird is difficult, and people have been digging around and finding all manner of bits and bobs which are difficult to reference and actually sort of validate, because she seems to have had her history deleted to a small degree on the internet, which seemed to happen before this all happened, but shortly after she sent the initial letters in to the Democrats, and I don't know. There's something. I'm not just saying this. Something smells a little fishy. This smells like Grimsby Dock. It's so fucking fishy. I haven't smelled so much fish in my life, to be honest.
Am I the only one sitting here thinking of the certain similarities this case seems to have with the Rolling Stones case a while back?
Rolling Stones case? Which one was that one? Remind me.
The one where the woman accused an entire college football team of gang raping her at a party.
Mattress Girl, you mean?
Was it Mattress Girl?
Mattress Girl had one target.
Right.
I think this. I don't remember if it was like a fraternity or a football team that this one attacked. By the way, just an interesting note. While this was entirely a lie, later on she was convicted of second-degree murder. I didn't even know this until yesterday.
Sorry, who was convicted of second-degree murder?
The person who accused that whole Rolling Stone.
Oh, the
thing,
Rolling
if
Stones.
you hear that.
Really? Yes, because I know Rolling Stones, if I remember rightly, and this is going back, it was 2015 this was, wasn't it? Or 16?
I think it was further back than that.
Right, okay. So yeah, I don't know the exact date on that one. But yeah, I seem to remember there
Not
being
sure, though.
being a fair amount of fuss. This is the whole, this listen and believe women and victims of sexual assault thing. It becomes difficult when we've got, even the Guardian going, well, women lie twice as much as men do. But listen and believe. Maybe not anymore. Not with
Wait,
that.
was that Women Lying article a new one? Or
Yeah, that's
did we
brand new. That came out today. So, yeah.
Why would they bring that out today?
I don't know. I mean, talk about
Seems
sticking your
strange
foot
the
in
Guardian
it.
would want to.
I know. Talk about well, they wanted to because they're so nice. That's why. It's So yeah. So we've got America making a gigantic tit of their own.
The Democrats.
Democratic, yeah, well, the Democrats, not
Democratic
the American.
Party,
Democratic Party, yeah?
The Democratic
no,
Party,
the
yeah.
It's the Democratic Party which constantly tells us, hey, look at Canada and Europe. We should be more like them, hey?
Yeah, and then you're just making an absolute complete fucking arse of various processes.
The worst thing is, I don't even like the
Leading by
Republican
good-
Party.
Great example.
I mean, nobody likes any. I mean, we're talking about politicians here. We're talking about, a giant douche and a shit sandwich, as far as South Park put it. And I think they're absolutely fucking right. That this has been the case with every single political party I've ever run into, apart from maybe one or two. But they're usually sort of the little ones. Of dealing with UKIP people of late and running into and speaking to those guys. They seem like really decent, down to earth, working people that care about their community. When it comes
they seem
to
like
big
actual
politics,
human beings rather than the fetid lizard-like creatures that stumble around the parliament.
yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that was quite possibly the most boomer thing I've heard. And
wow,
it wasn't even from Trig.
wow. Rook, you're here. Welcome.
How are you all doing anyway?
Not so bad, not so bad. We are live at the present moment, so I'm glad
Hello, Internet.
Yes, this is another one of the gang, shall we say? So we're just generally having a bit of a piss take of what's been going off. Does anyone want to chip in any other comments about Lindsey Graham suddenly becoming cool and the whole Kavanaugh thing being a total fiasco? Or
I mean,
shall we?
nothing on him, but I do have something on another Lindsay.
Oh, another Lindsay? Go on.
With a Miss Lohan
Oh.
accusing a couple of child trafficking, then trying to kidnap their 2 children. What was the race of the children? I can't remember what it was.
They're
yeah.
refugees.
Yeah, two
Or
adopted
migrants.
refugee kids or migrant kids.
I actually saw the video of that. I don't know what the hell.
What?
What's
Have you
going
got
on
a
there?
link for this? Just if you got a link, check it in
Oh,
Big
I
Picture.
should- I
Oh,
should-
it's wonderful.
I need to see this. This is
They were definitely Arab.
oh,
I should-
a
yes,
new
they were.
flavour of cancer.
The title
wow.
of the video was they were refugee family with their children.
Marvelous. Wow, Lindsay Lohan. Wow.
That's what happens when you're raised in Hollywood.
Seems to fuck you up.
As they
Drugs
say,
are a terrible
drugs are a
thing.
hell of a drug.
Yeah. Okay. So have you got a link for this or?
I'm now getting it.
Cool.
She live streamed it while she was doing it, by the way. Just to...
Well, she live streamed the attempt to see the child.
She live streamed it, accused the parents of human trafficking.
Was it Periscope or something weird like that? Yeah.
No, in Instagram, I believe, is where she did it.
Instagram, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. She then tried to take the kids away, got punched in the face by the mom, and then claimed she was being harassed.
Oh, was that the mom that did that?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Good.
So
Good. You know what? If someone was trying to take my child, not that I have one that I know of, but if certainly I was with did punch that bitch in the face. Damn right.
As you know, God
Shit.
knows what got up in the 90s.
Yeah. None of you guys look like me. It's okay.
Was she a major SJW then?
Well, Lindsay Lohan. No, she's just a
No,
mental
she's just
case.
insane.
She's just a
Freak.
But
freak.
no, an
Maybe that's the
SJW
reason
wouldn't
why I brought it
accuse
up.
wouldn't accuse an Arab family of kidnapping their children.
I've posted the video.
I am.
Well, I thought was it?
bringing this
I
up. This is
was
a
it a white-
this is an
thing?
actual
Was it a
live
white
stream.
mom and dad?
No, they were Arabs. It was just an
Oh,
Arab
all of
family. That was, as far as I'm
That's
aware,
the
those were their
weirdest.
actual
That
children.
that just makes it weirder.
Well, she was just, I don't know, high on something, so she was just insane. I mean, I could honestly go as far as to imagine that in her mind she was doing a good thing because she
Oh
thought
god,
these
she
were,
almost
you know,
certainly believed she was, because then she claimed she was being
Well,
harassed by them afterwards.
I won't leave
As
and
far
die
as I
with
know,
you.
she was either very
Let's-
drunk or onto something.
Let's watch a bit of this because
no,
this
Now I
is
know who you
she was
are.
certainly.
this is fucking golden. This
Don't fuck with me. Hey kids. Wallah, this is the Arab. This is not Arab. You're ruining Arab culture by doing this. Mashallah, wallah.
What the?
You're taking these children. They want to go.
So is this? She's just
I'm
walked
with
into
you.
a
I'm with you, I'm
random
with you.
family in the
Boys, don't worry.
street or what?
Yes, yeah. She
The
I
whole
believe she
world
was
is
driving
seeing this
around
right
and
now.
she saw this family
Mashallah, wallah.
outside, and she got out of her car and went after them.
What? This is... You're kidding
I'm
me.
genuinely surprised you didn't know about this.
I didn't know
Yeah.
about this. No, this
I will
is.
walk forever.
Oh, I thought I told you.
I stay with you. I don't.
This is awesome.
Skip forward a bit on this. Let's see. Oh, yeah, okay, right, okay.
Don't fuck with Pakistan.
And here we see Exhibit 95 on why Hollywood should burn.
In Minecraft.
I'm like.
Yes, in Minecraft. Good God, no. We can possibly plan anything against the real Hollywood.
This woman is mad.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a danger to herself and the general public at this point.
You can tell from how she speaks that she's psychologically deranged in some way. Either just because she's lost her marbles, or the substances that are acting on her has caused her to be that way.
Substances? Lindsay
She was
Lohan?
apparently.
What makes you think
was
there'll
about-
be substances around Lindsay Lohan?
Oh, nothing. It's just a hunch.
I'm genuinely surprised Lindsay Lohan hasn't overdosed yet, though.
I think she has several times, hasn't she?
Well,
I
she'll either overdose or get stabbed by trying to steal
Not
some of these kids.
fatally is what I'm on about.
God, yeah, this is. Oh, I
Wow.
can't even. Literally, words won't even. No.
Streak progressing
Just
from
wow.
boomer to 16-year-old white girl.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, you know. Why not?
Anything's possible these days.
Damn right. Yeah. Okay. So let's move on before we get arrested for that comment.
Oh, if you want to
something
get
else was
arrested for a
posted.
comment, I could say,
More madness from the Guardian. Although again, actually,
Can
kind
you
of.
beat that story though?
Can you beat this story? I mean, are you looking at this title? Pro-refugee Italian mayor arrested for aiding illegal migration. Oh.
You know,
So-
I think he's very lucky. If that was 80 years ago, they would have just shot him.
Mussolini, yeah. so scanning through this, we've got the mayor of an Italian town won praise and TV publicity for his integrating of thousands of refugees, etc., etc. Hailed by Fortune magazine as one of the world's greatest leaders, has been accused of fraudulently awarding contracts for waste disposal and organising marriages of convenience between local men and foreign women, and has been arrested a week after Italy's far right, in inverted commas, shall we say populist, the government that represents the people of Italy, who have been voted in with quite a majority. I don't know whether they're far right or not. They
Before you
don't
go on
seem
too
to be.
further, I'd like to draw a highlight to the contracts for waste disposal, which, as far as I know, means mafia.
Really?
Yeah. No, this is it. So yeah,
That is a good dog whistle for mafia. That is. As far as I
he's
know.
definitely orchestrating some fairly dodgy shit there by the sounds of it, and yeah, the government has come in and said actually all of this immigration is surprisingly illegal because they're not coming in through the legal methods, and this guy is aiding and abetting that, and so
They have to go back.
off to jail for this chap it seems. The Guardian was unable to reach Luciano for comment. His migrant integration project began more than a decade ago as a way to repopulate and revive the economy of his town, whose population had dwindled down because he was an awful mayor and everyone left the town, it seems. So, yeah, Italy
Could you
getting a
imagine
bit...
being one of these people and picking up the phone and realise, and someone,
Yeah, he could have,
someone
like,
from the Guardian
had-
saying, "Would you like to give an interview?"
What, this is
So he
Time to
decided-
fuck off, even
so
if
he-
you were left wing.
So he decided to bring in a load of refugees. It didn't occur to him at any point to say have encouragement for marriage or child rearing, perhaps tax breaks for couples.
there's loads.
Well,
there.
that would be rather far right of you to try to increase your own population.
Well,
Are
damn!
you
I guess
encouraging the married family? What are you doing, you madman?
What is interesting, though, is that there are now, at this present moment, there are lots of people like this chap that have been operating in Spain, in Germany, in France, in Sweden. There's all sorts of people that have been doing this all over the place.
Well, there's somebody quite a lot like him that runs Germany currently and has done for several years.
Oh, no, he's far
Well-
better looking than Merkel.
Yeah, it's best like comparing Merkel and the barn door.
What was it? What was Berlusconi's comment? Yeah, that was that Berlusconi's comment was fairly spot on with regards Merkel, and I'm not going to read it out,
Oh,
but
God.
anyone watching is very welcome to look up Silvio Berlusconi and what he thinks of Angela Merkel, and I am pretty much 100% in agreement with him. No, but this is interesting because if Germany does the whole AfD thing and they get into power, which seem to be growing quite, prodigiously. Sweden's getting sort of a populist movement happening again over there. There's quite a potential for this to be essentially a landmark case of one of a great many public officials who have been breaking the law of their own land rather egregiously, and may well end up facing the old thin blue line. Good on them.
And I was very intrigued to hear that Austria has declared that it wishes to form an axis between Italy, Poland, and Hungary.
That's a phrasing I wouldn't have been keen on using, to be honest.
I
No,
thought that
but-
I thought the axis was actually Germany, Austria, and Italy. I'm pretty sure those were the three countries in it.
That was the original axis of
Well, that's
yeah.
what Austria has
no.
announced
I
that
mean,
they wish to
the
create.
newly proposed. No, I mean the newly proposed one. I think it's Germany, Austria, and Italy.
Oh Jesus Christ!
No, not Germany, because Germany doesn't. The AfD is not in power yet.
No. There's like one of their I don't know, foreign minister. There's some guy there that actually legitimately. Someone in their government that legitimately doesn't want migrants moving through.
I'm somewhat stunned as the use of the that terminology. An axis.
Yes, I
wouldn't
was
have
quite
been,
surprised when I read that.
wouldn't have been my pick of terms for that type of thing. Some sort of coalition of the willing, maybe? Allies, maybe? Not Axis. That comes across as a bit sort of,
Well, you gotta admit that almost sounds like a dog whistle. I mean, like a real one.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
Good
we're about
God.
to see the reformation of the Austro-Hungarian Empire now.
oh God.
Just imagine a bunch of people just sitting around, just be like, it would be a laugh
Serbia,
if we called this an
comes and rules
axis.
again.
I mean, is this a political shitpost? Is what I want to know. I mean, it could well be just. That,
Well, yes, exactly.
They're just having a good old laugh with that, but.
Whatever
my
they
God.
do, just make sure they don't invite Serbia.
Yeah. So So Italy's getting woke. That's kind of a fun thing, I guess.
Well, I mean, they've been turning away the illegal NGO ships.
Well, it's kind of fun unless you're D'Amico Luciano, in which case you're in the clink. Oh, let's hope he has a nice cellmate like what was that chap that was on the Dank?
Purple Aki.
Purple Aki. Let's hope he's cellmates with Purple Aki. I'm sure he'll find friendship and companionship.
Muscles.
Mm. Just don't
I
climb
love
through
that
the
everyone
chat.
knows that Purple Aki.
Purple Aki. Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. That's a case and a half, isn't it? Anyone that hasn't watched it, by all means, watch Dank's
sentence
stream.
history, and you look at the things that he's done, and you got a few months or a year or 2 years and stuff. Why has nobody sentenced him properly yet? Why do they keep giving him odd bits and pieces here and
He
there?
got banned from touching muscles, so it's a bit weird.
Yes, he had the most. What is it? He had the most specific restraining order in British history of law.
Now this one was thrown up a little earlier on. If you're watching this, all well and good, posted this on Twitter. I love this guy's Twitter feed. It's always absolutely great. But
You say that.
oh my God, if you would never date someone with HIV, maybe it's time to question yourself. So I question you guys. Would you date someone with HIV? Do you want to live a long and healthy life? Or do you fancy
Hell no.
being enslaved to the drug companies and have to take sort of various immuno deficiency type drugs that keep you alive and cost you thousands every month, or at least the state thousands every month, just to keep you ticking along and pounding that ass.
So Drake, is this one of those new genders that they've been talking about?
Oh my God, I didn't see this bit of it. Oh my.
Sexually identify as HIV.
I prefer to date men who are HIV positive. Oh my fucking God. Well, I hope this is someone that actually
just
has
hearing the
AIDS.
name, I think I've heard this one.
I
You know,
hope this is someone who already has HIV, and in that case they are trying to keep the disease from going. But the following
look at the
meme.
subtitle.
What happens if they have the kid there?
Oh well,
I think they're gay.
yeah. And but you're right. It's a good question.
It's a fair assumption to make.
If you've got a heterosexual couple and both are HIV positive, then they will have what is called an AIDS baby, and that baby is unfortunately born with HIV
I don't think
positive.
it matters if the dad does. I think it's just,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure if
yeah,
the woman does.
yeah. It's
the
specifically
baby's tucked
if the
into
woman
it.
has it, then yeah. But if one out of a couple has HIV positive status, it's tricky not for them both not to end up there, unless they're very
I was gonna say.
If it's only the dad for whatever reason and the mom legitimately doesn't, then I'm pretty sure that
If the dad was
wouldn't be a
HIV
threat to the
positive
kid.
and then made the mum pregnant,
without infecting her somehow.
I would be quite interested in knowing how he did that without making her pregnant. I'm no expert on AIDS by any stretch of the
Well, it's
imagination.
not guaranteed to transmit every single time. I mean,
Okay.
No, but it's transmissible by pretty much any kind of bodily fluids, and that's the issue with it.
If it was done in a lab, though, that would be different.
What you mean intravenous? Well,
Oh,
possibly you
in
get away
vitro
with it.
fertilization. That's a
Not intravenous. That's a
yeah. That'll be yes. In vitro fertilization, rather.
This is why I'm not a doctor. But...
No.
Is that why?
I was gonna say there's probably significantly more reasons.
Yep. No.
well,
I
a
saw-
hammer isn't considered a useful medical tool.
No, it hasn't
Well,
been for the
that's-
last
yeah, but-
500 years.
Neither is a sickle, you filthy communist.
Isn't that a way that you can figure out a cure for AIDS?
Well, a hammer.
Oh my God, D.
If you can remove AIDS from a sperm, you can remove it from a person, maybe?
Can you remove it from a sperm?
No.
Or I don't know. If you can
I don't know.
Shit.
I don't know. Basically, as far as I know, the HIV virus, it's a virus that attaches itself to white blood cells. It then corrupts that white blood cell, and that white blood cell
that's ironic.
then that blood cell starts producing more of the virus instead of fighting it. That's how viruses work in general. I remember
Do you?
running into some technology. God, it was about 15 years ago, which was a type of plastic molecule called a dendrimer, which was supposed to be being built to look like white blood cells, and the idea would be that viruses would attach themselves to said plastic molecule. And not
The
be
only trouble is that we haven't yet investigated the issues of having a lot of plastic floating around your system.
quite. Yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't know what stage it's at, and I lost track of on when I was
I don't know, the
following that.
ocean
But
seems pretty fine.
it was quite an interesting piece of technology. Whether or not you can pass it back out of your bloodstream or not, I don't know.
Well, I maybe you could do it with a dialysis machine and scrub it out that way.
That's a point.
Hey, kitty.
That's the point. That would be quite cool, wouldn't it? If you could go for dialysis and so have this stuff injected into you, go back a week later for dialysis, and that's it. You've cleaned your body of all the virus. That would be quite the accomplishment.
Well,
Quite
guys, good job. We just cured AIDS.
Yeah.
I thought D was saying a hammer was the cure for AIDS.
A hammer
That
would
is a cure.
well,
I mean,
and if
I
you
mean,
use the hammer,
roughly,
if you used it judiciously enough on enough people, eventually you would have nobody with AIDS anymore. So
No,
Personally,
eventually some idiot would sleep with some kind of chimp, and humanity would be reinfected. And before you say it, Korak, no.
Well,
Yeah.
but
I
we've
don't know
already
what you
picked
think I
that
was gonna
door.
say. I'm a very good Jewish boy going to my
Sure.
my rabbi every day.
it was
So
either
the people that identify as a
Synagogue.
monkey, they can carry on being a monkey. can't they?
yeah. Let's not. Jesus, D.
I don't like where this is going. To be
Yeah,
honest,
yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. D's black.
Rabbi
Yes,
Zermelo
yes,
told me
I
that we
know
shouldn't
he's not.
say
But
things
I
like
I
this.
know D's black, but people can't see D as black, and unfortunately, anything even
Trig.
remotely sort of racial will cause all sorts of problems
Trig.
with the.
They
Hello?
can clearly hear he is black.
No, no, they can hear. They can hear.
I mean,
he's
listen to that laugh.
roughly from yeah. Well, no,
You can hear
no.
he's from Birmingham,
Yeah, basically.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is essentially the same thing.
Oh, we're going for complete demonetization and arrest on the first stream, are we? Okay,
Can we
okay, I
please stop
see
ins-
what you're doing here. Right, well,
Can we please stop insulting?
I was gonna, you know what? I was gonna bring up something I saw
Guys,
in.
I'm
on
gonna
the
have to talk to my friends in the ADL about this. This is just
It's yeah.
it makes me uncomfortable.
Guys, you're killing me here. But speaking of nonsense, apparently, Neighbours. You all remember the old TV show Neighbours?
The one
what?
set in Australia, right?
The old soap opera set in Australia. Yes.
Yeah, it used to be straight after
The one that
the
had Kylie
BBC
Minogue
Kids
in it
time.
and stuff.
Yeah, the one with Kylie Minogue in it and stuff. That's the one. We all remember
Oh.
it. We all
So
used
that's
to
the
watch it
show
at
that
some
brought
point.
her to fame.
No,
Yes,
never
yes, it is. It is the show.
Cursed show.
Now, here's the hilarious thing: is that somebody, somewhere, in the Neighbours staff, because this is it's still running in Australia. We don't watch it so much over here anymore. But as you can see on the stream, I'm just putting up. Let's see if it gets to the point yet. And you will see on this notice board that I'm bringing up here, just on the right hand side there, you'll see a little notice that says #free Tommy. And if we go a bit further on, it seems like somebody over in Australia that working on the Neighbours crew is somewhat of a fan of Mr. Tommy Robinson, aka sort of a bit of a folk hero in England to some. And there's a better picture of it. I don't know if I can get it any better resolution. It's unfortunately a poor resolution shot, but just there. I don't know if you can see my mouse pointer going around it. Oh no, it's not got up there on the stream yet. Yep, somebody has stuck a #free Tommy Robinson sign on a Neighbours thing. I must admit I'm quite amused by that. It's a bit shitposty to say the
Oh
least.
wow!
Yeah.
Good on
I-
the member of the production team responsible for that.
Whoever did that, that's
It's a marketing ploy.
it's a marketing ploy.
I-
For
I-
what?
Nobody
don't-
watches that shit anymore.
I don't know. I've heard this guy is bigoted. In my synagogue, we preach religious tolerance, and I just
I would say that everybody that has
Is it possible to have negative demonetization where they actually charge you money for putting something on the internet?
I
I'm
think
sure
it's
they'll invent a way to do that soon.
I think
Okay,
they're going to be
please-
working on
please
it for
stop
this one.
talking about charging money and these other anti-Semitic stereotypes. I'm
Yeah.
really
Oh,
I'm
good
trying
God.
to be.
Coat just no. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is that what I would say is that anyone that's interested in that particular case should look into Mr. Robinson by themselves and
The BBC and the Guardian have representative fair articles on it.
I believe so, but I'm you know what, with regards to the Guardian, I don't know. Elon Musk, I had an opinion on the Guardian the other day, and I'm somewhat in agreement with his.
Said some mean things about us owning it.
He said some terrible things about the Guardian. Elon,
No, that and the rest of the
Do
media.
enlighten us on his
I
comments.
know, we're waiting on it.
and what was it he
Didn't
said
say.
exactly? Elon
It's
Musk
the most insufferable newspaper on planet Earth.
is the most insufferable newspaper on planet Earth. That's right, and
Was
I
Guardian's-
wholeheartedly agree.
I kind of tend to agree. Yeah.
Also, no, the Independence is far worse.
Oh, I know, and the Independent actually used to be a newspaper.
Independent?
Yeah, until about 15, 20 years ago or something. And then I believe various other people started buying into it and buying shares, and all of a sudden it went very heavily left wing and very I don't know. I don't know. I give up on
Certainly a
all of the newspapers.
paradoxical concept to call it the Independent.
It does seem somewhat of a chin scratcher to me. Yes.
Well, any independent thinker would come to these conclusions. It is-
Yes, quite. Let's have what was the next thing we were going to go and get myself a shot for? Oh yes, the British Army, in a move of inclusiveness, are. Oh no, that doesn't exist. I wonder if they've taken that tweet down. Or let's see if I can get another version of it here.
Oh, they didn't tell me we were shutting it down.
No, wow, they have. British Army have removed this tweet, so I'm not going to comment on this tweet. Clearly something has
say?
happened to this tweet that was posted up earlier. And as
It
a result,
actually
it's
I
was
wonder
deleted.
if I scroll up in my timeline, I might be able to find it.
Okay, I'll read what it was. Is basically the British Army is proud to be diverse and inclusive. Today, the 7th Infantry Brigade, based in the West Midlands, is hosting a retreat for Muslim imams at a particular location, and the group is studying the role of the Muslim chaplaincy in the army as they move to integrate Islam into the British Army. I imagine that's received some bit of a kickback because, like I said, I'm not seeing that tweet on Twitter anymore, so I think they've taken that down.
There is a screen grab of it in chat if you want to put it up.
I have, but you know what? Because they've taken it down, because they've decided not to actually stick to what they've said on that one and brought it down, I'm going to wait for them to reissue something like that.
I still think it should be shown because they did have the gall to put it up there in the first place.
Oh shit!
Okay.
I've actually got something to say about this.
Yeah. Go
More
for it.
ISIS fighters fight. Well, more British Muslims fight for ISIS and the British Army.
Whoa!
No,
why are you
Ooh,
why
okay.
are you bringing up ISIS? We're talking
No,
about
I-
Muslims here.
There's a Sikh
No,
guy
what I'm
as
trying
well.
to no, what I'm
Islamic
trying to say
State has
is,
nothing to do with Islam.
hang
Okay.
on, hang on, listen to me. Now, what I was trying to say
Uh-huh.
is I don't think they should be insulted that heavily for trying to integrate people into the British Army.
Look, no, hold on. You can't. You're saying we shouldn't insult Muslims that heavily. I really don't think we should moderately insult Muslims either. You're being very bigoted. I denounce you.
Okay, so
As you should,
you know what? I think
right.
we're gonna move on from this one because it's obviously a contentious. And you know, I wouldn't want to insult anyone on the stream.
Do they know?
What if they got hacked?
Right. Okay. So
It loo-
no.
I
Just
was just gonna say it looks like they photoshopped it.
they didn't Photoshop it. They've taken the tweet down. They're not sticking to it, so I'm not going to hold them accountable to something that that has been removed. And so
yeah,
on.
that's how the military works. They make a mistake. You know, you can't hold it against.
Looking at your country's military, they make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, so much
No,
so that
look,
we
no,
had to
no,
put
hold
flags
on,
on the
hold
back
on.
of our
No,
tanks
No.
to stop
You can't
American
criticize
planes
my
shooting
military.
them.
No, hold on. What are you talking about? You can't criticize my military for shooting all those Palestinians at the border. Okay, this is you're being very, very anti-Semitic.
All right, no, sorry, I thought
Right,
you were,
yeah,
I thought
okay.
you were American, not
Yeah.
Jewish.
I'm
Yeah,
a
right.
dual citizen. Okay.
Okay, right.
It's
Oh, God.
like Feinstein, that glorious senator.
Jesus Christ, man. Okay, right. And so a quick. Oh, what's that over there? Oh, is that British politics? I think it is because Boris
Gosh,
Johnson
what's
has.
that looming overhead? Is
Yeah.
that the demonetization symbol? Golly gee willikers.
I mean, this is the first ever episode. I mean, I suppose starters you mean to go on and all that, but yeah, no. Apparently Boris is kind of pretty much going all out to stick two fingers up at Theresa May, and he's chucking checkers. Yes, absolutely right.
He did denounce UKIP as far right though in the same speech.
He did say that UKIP was far right, and I happen to sort of tend to disagree with that particular statement. In fact, from my speaking to people within UKIP, I would suggest that there are more people in UKIP that are ex-Labour and ex-trade unionists than anything else. And there are a lot of disenfranchised Tory voters in there as well, but they seem to be mostly Labour people, which really would kind of preclude them from being a far right bunch. Also, they seem to be sort of fairly generally a good old mishmash of an ethnicities and so on. They do seem to have a fairly cultural homogeneity in that they care for their local community and so on. But I think I'm doing my own little bit of flag waving for them here.
Multiculturalism is the future.
No. I personally would have to disagree with that. I think multi-ethnicity, no problem at all, but it has to be a cultural homogeneity. I don't think anyone can deny at this point, from what we've seen in the world over the last few years, that multiple cultures operating right next to each other in the same vicinity is causing significant friction. Angela Merkel herself said multiculturalism was failing dramatically, and then she walked it all back because she had to then let in millions of refugees for some
Are we
reason.
talking about the same Angela Merkel who walked back her own flag when someone handed it to her on
She could not get rid of that flag fast enough. I've never seen something quite as disgraceful in my entire life. It was an absolute look of distaste. I was
If
frankly
any
shocked.
British politician did that with our flag, that's the end of their career.
Yeah,
How
rightly
she-
so. I mean,
how she survived that?
Can you imagine an American president
God.
being given an
be burned at
American
the
flag
stake.
and going "Ugh," and throwing it away? I would
Just a
be.
picture
interested.
of Trump
They would-
hugging the American flag.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, there would be some lunatic yank would shoot them on the spot, and the whole crowd would cheer if that happened.
I'm just interested. Do you know what German angst is?
German
The whole
angst.
idea of
Well, as in being
I-
afraid of the Germans, etc. I
as
can
in-
understand that. Yeah.
in Germany, you were brought up to be almost ashamed of being German. That's ingrained into society, and it's quite tragic. It's why
Well, they
there's
did
no
some
respect
pretty
for the
bad
flag in
things.
Germany.
I mean,
Well,
they,
I know several people that live in Germany, and there's a large chunk of their school system is predicated on the idea of beating them over the head about their history.
It is. It's quite tragic.
That's
It's good to see they're learning from their mistakes.
Yes and no. I mean, everybody's country has done some horrendous things in the past. Everybody's country has done some fairly amazing things in the past.
Hold
well,
on there, buddy.
Well, some more than others. I know, I'm British. We've done many more amazing things than most, and a few horrifying things. I will grant you that. But
You're
all
right,
I'll just
you were
say
once
is,
you were once conquered by the French. Can you imagine that? Ugh,
Yes, and we then beat them in every war since.
Yes.
we did, which is rather good.
And
Except the
wasn't-
American
no,
Revolution.
let's be fair. It wasn't the French. It was the Normans. And the Normans weren't really
They were actually
homogenous with the rest.
Scandinavian.
Yeah, exactly. Not very homogenous with the rest of France. Much actually, sort of culturally and also genetically, much more similar because we'd been invaded by the Vikings previously, who were also Scandinavian. So we actually had quite a lot in common in many respects with the old Normans. And
White
so
people
many
so
great
violent.
battles. We're not going to go on to this one because I'll start recounting the Battle of Stamford Bridge and how one man with an axe is quite the opponent when standing on a bridge until sneaky bastards in a boat decided to skewer him with a spear. But that's the French for you. Sorry, Normans.
They're French when they're sneaky bastards.
Yeah, absolutely, and when they're running away too, they're definitely French then. But when they're doing something incredibly, awesome,
The
they're
old
Normans.
adage about second-hand French firearms, never fired, dropped only once.
Yes, quite. So yeah, no, that's what have we got there?
We don't actually know if they're combat effective.
No one's
Never
ever,
used.
no one's ever fired one in anger,
Ah,
or
dear.
even fired one in surrender.
Oh dear, better not have that up there for too long. People might read the quote. Oh, maybe leave it a little longer. Where were we? What was the next thing we had on our agenda?
Oh, that's a good message.
Yeah. You know what? I like this. I mean, there is no such thing as society. There is living tapestry of men and women, and the beauty of that tapestry and the quality of our lives will depend upon how much each of us is prepared to take responsibility for ourselves and to turn around and to help, by our own efforts, those who are unfortunate. There is no such thing as entitlement unless someone has first met an obligation.
Now that's very interesting, but she has said that there's no such thing as a society and then described a nice model of a society.
Yes, but I think really that's more of a, in relation to she'd clearly run into some gangweed members. They'd clearly done the whole "we live in a society" thing, and this is clearly a response to that.
Who knew that gangweed was around in the 1980s?
I know. They've been sneaky bastards for a while. I reckon potentially even capable of time travel, but gamers.
God help us all.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Thatcher had a good message for me and my fellow white people to understand that we are individuals.
We are
It
indeed.
is good to see us accepting this and realizing we should help those who need it,
Mhm.
especially those from other continents.
Well,
Let them all
something
in,
I
please.
feel is something
Which
I
would be a very nice segue to the £4 billion pledge that we made in recent weeks.
£4 billion pledge to
Have
who?
you not heard about this?
No, go on. This is news. Maybe. I don't know.
We pledged £4 billion. Not a week. Did I say week? I meant a year.
That's what I was going to say. A week would be a lot.
Yeah, sorry.
Cracky, even I can't afford that.
No, to South Africa,
We can.
as long as their expropriation of land is done legally.
Oh God, yes, I remember this. Okay, so the
How
expropriation
about
of
we?
land.
How about we give £4 billion to the South Africans to stop the people taking their land away?
Ah, well,
As long as they stop them from doing it legally.
I don't know if
don't
there's a
see the
legal
problem here.
way of taking legally owned land.
No, because you get into the issue of who is in charge of the law at that point, then, as to who defines what is legal. And this is the problem with saying it's okay if they do it legally, because if they change the law, then it's
legal. But this whole South Africa and the Boers thing it's so difficult because they bought the land legally hundreds of years ago from
The
the
South
people.
African thing is very
And they
simple.
were there longer,
And
they turned it into arable land.
yeah, but the people that they bought it from, the tribes that they bought it from, were immediately sort of wiped out by the Zulu nation. And it's that nation, the Zulu nation is a predominant part of the tribes of South Africa that are down there. So they're sort of saying this is our land, but it wasn't.
not.
It was the tribe. It was another tribe's land who they
Well,
wiped
actually,
out.
Actually, it was.
And
a
they sold
huge
it
portion
legally.
A huge portion of South Africa was nobody's land. It was unoccupied when the first settlers arrived there.
Yeah, and so It's a bit of an
that's
iffy
kind of
one.
a truism.
It's a bit of an iffy situation with regards to South Africa, and all I can say is if I was a South African farmer, I would be thinking of fucking off somewhere where they weren't going to kill me. So
Well,
guys,
either move to Russia or join the Zeitlanders organization.
well, it's Russia. I mean, South Africa. Australia are taking them in, aren't they? I heard Australia would.
Yes, that's true. They finally got round to accepting that now.
Which
A
is
lot of the people in the government tried to block it, but I don't know if it was a mayor or a member of parliament managed to get them in through a sort of legal backdoor.
I mean, regardless of how people feel about the white South African people, and sure, apartheid was a bit of a tragedy in many respects. It certainly seems to have caused the crime rate to
Not the
rocket.
biggest tragedy. though.
Yeah, I was going to say since that has stopped, the crime rate has dramatically risen in South Africa. It's become a much more troubled place. So I don't know. There's a lot of problems in that land, and if I were there, I would want to get the fuck out, to be honest.
Well, of course, it's a problem. It's like once the apartheid ended and they got into government, one of their prime directives was to replace all of the whites at the positions of the high end of the hierarchy with blacks.
Whoa! Hold on. What do you mean they got into
think that
government?
was true initially.
The party, the party of apartheid opposing party of South Africa, whose name that escapes me currently, that got into power at the end of apartheid.
So it's a bad thing that people who opposed apartheid.
From an objective economic standpoint, they put a lot of people into power that didn't know what they were doing and were not qualified, and it significantly detrimented the country.
It
Same
was
Zimbabwe.
it was doing okay under Mandela.
And the guy straight after him as well. He actually spoke out recently about how angry he is with how things are going.
Exactly. It's gone horribly. Mandela was a one-off, and yeah, he was holding that country together. Now he's gone. It's been plummeting downhill. It's a great shame. But South Africa is. There's a problem. I don't know how that's going to be solved. But in other news, just going back to something I saw earlier today, the great Sargon, ex of This Week in Stupid and so on, put out a video with regards Graham Lineham's transphobic hate crimes. It was an amusing video. I watched it. I not totally agree with everything that was put in it, and we could go through that at some point. But I did find a very amusing comment that was made in there, which was the particular person that's holding Graham Lineham up to task for being a horrible transphobe, made the statement that she is the holder of a female recognition certificate. This is news to me. I didn't know they existed. So I actually made a phone call and asked a couple of members of my family who are, I believe, as I understand it, female. My mum in particular.
Are you sure?
And well, my mum and my sister and my gran were all there at the time, and I asked each one of them
your mom's gender.
if they had a female recognition certificate, and none of them do. So I'm left with I'm not quite sure. I don't know. Are they real women? I don't know. I mean, I don't have a male recognition certificate either.
Trig, I think this is actually a thing, because if you consider it, Lauren Southern has a male certificate.
Oh, well, you make a point. Yeah, she changed her identity at the DMV of Canada, and, well, there's no accounting for Canada.
But Canada is a glorious bastion of what we should all become.
Really?
Sure.
I heard someone suggesting that it should become Greater Alaska at some point, and I don't know. I thought that was quite an amusing meme.
I don't know what kind of bigot would suggest something that would in any way imply that Canada wasn't the greatest nation on Earth, except for some better ones with the 6-pointed emblems.
Well, if it did become Greater Alaska, it would become much better at foreign policy, because they'd be able to see Russia from the coastline.
Well, yes, they would have that advantage, definitely. But
And they might not have people flying memes into their buildings.
Well, they would have the greatest ally. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Are you suggesting we did something?
No, I'm just saying that having a meme fly into your building is quite annoying.
the meme. Oh,
What
is
is this meme you're referencing? Is this some kind of a cover-up word for something to do with me?
No, this is the. Are we talking about the Saudi Arabian
Yes.
slight gaff with their
That's the
their
one.
tweets? Yes, that was. I was quite amused by that.
Oh,
I thought
yeah,
that was.
yes. It was the Saudis. Yes, they did that.
Yes, that was rather amusing. But yeah, Graham Lineham though. Graham Lineham. Ex of no, that Count Dankula is a horrible Nazi and he deserves to burn for his hate speech. Oh crap, I've been caught by the same hate speech laws. I wonder if he's going to change his opinion on freedom of expression on the internet.
So what did he do to get caught up?
I mean, I would suggest watching Sargon's Thinkery video on it because he covers it on there, and it's a 10-minute video. It's quite quick and easy to watch, and it's a Sargon video, so it's quite easy and amusing to watch. But yeah, basically he's taking the turf, the trans exclusionary radical feminist line of if you own a penis, you're not a female, which of course is clearly a terrible and transphobic position to take in this day and age, and yes, someone who was the holder of a female recognition certificate decided to take somewhat offence with it, and yeah, I believe he's now being charged with a hate crime. I shouldn't laugh. It's terrible. Because I kind of stand.
He said something so bigoted.
Here's the thing. I have to stand with Graham on this one, and I support him in fighting against this hate speech crime. It doesn't exist. It is an attack on his thoughts. He should be allowed to express himself. However much of a transphobe he is. If that is his opinion, he should be allowed to express that. And Graham, I feel for you, buddy. It's a tough old law out there, and perhaps you should have stood with the rest of us with regards freedom of speech when you were instead trying to burn YouTubers at the stake for making edgy videos. But come back to bite us occasionally, and I'm trying not to enjoy it because it is a travesty that he's having to go through this, to be honest. But I mean,
it's sad.
Forgive us if we are a little smug.
He was such a good guy, though. I mean, he was standing up for my people and making sure the bigots,
He's done some. I mean, this is the guy that did Father Ted, and what's the other one he's done? The IT Crowd, and he's done some very funny videos before in his past. He's clearly someone of wit and intelligence who has completely lost his mind.
Well, this is the whole thing. I mean, look at the amount of stuff in Father Ted that could be brought up now as being...
Oh, good God. There's the whole episode where Father Ted's got his entire flat full of Nazi memorabilia, and he's basically doing the whole, Hitler salute out the window with the mark on the window to make him look like he's got the Hitler tash. It was a funny moment.
Acknowledge Fawlty Towers for a moment here.
Oh, let's please, shall we?
40? I only knew about 2.
No, Fawlty Towers.
Don't mention the war. I think I might have mentioned it once, but I don't think they noticed.
I think I might have got away with it.
I think they got away with it.
Yeah.
I think I got away with it. God, you're older than me, you misquote Fawlty Towers. What's wrong with you?
Just I don't know. I've been wondering what's wrong with theirs for a while now, but, I'm sure we'll manage to put our finger on it.
It's an unsolved mystery, and it will remain that way.
Nothing to see here. Move along.
So it's starting to sound like hate speech to me. I think we should move the topic.
Yeah, definitely. So, how long have we been going?
There's something odd about his nose.
We've done an hour's worth of pure, unadulterated hate.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Are we going to call it there, or are we going to carry on?
We're just gonna sort of. I think we're just gonna shitpost for a little bit, and if anyone wants to sort of bring up anything that they've seen that's amusing or any other things, and we will. Oh damn! Oh, I like
I was
that.
just gonna say, I thought these were peace talks, man. What are you saying?
These are peace talks. I've just seen that this is great. We're going to be using this as our closing, and perhaps even the background. In fact, let's just open this because. Thank you, Ez. That's fantastic. I'm
Oh,
yeah.
it's not that great.
It's
Elon Musk buying the Guardian or something.
No, Elon Musk is saying that the Guardian is the most insufferable newspaper on planet Earth, but doesn't have to be this way. Yeah, they could just get rid of
I
their
don't know. I
entire
mean, you have to be true
writing
to
and
yourself.
editorial staff.
I think you have to be true to yourself. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
And if they weren't being them, who would they be?
Well, quite. And you know what? Someone has got to be the Guardian, because if it wasn't the
What do you mean
Guardian out
they?
there, if the Guardian wasn't out
God,
there,
man.
it would be the Independent, or it would be some other bunch of nutters. And let's be fair, we've actually got a whole list. So, you can start with Jezebel and fucking HuffPost, and it just goes on endlessly. There are so many of these sort of slightly mental, self-opinionated. I can't really bring myself to say news sites, because most of it is not news, it's opinion.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're opinion sites these days.
Please don't speak negatively of these groups. I own some stock in all of them.
Jesus
My family, anyway.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, no, that's.
I think I may bid you all farewell, as I have some other matters to attend to. But it's been nice joining you all.
It's been a pleasure having you, sir. And
Hello, buddy.
I think we're going to start to wrap this one up at this point anyway, unless anyone's got anything else they want to sort of bring up. But it's been
We could talk about the elephant in the room.
the elephant in the room.
Yes,
Oh.
the EU.
Oh, that
Or would that
elephant.
be a bit too?
No.
No,
If
we
you've got
left it out on purpose. Why did you do that?
if you've got something to say about the them.
Well,
Yes,
I just
sure.
want to bring up the thing that everyone keeps seeming to forget is going on with the whole link tax and banning the
we
internet.
can't be asked. Just get the fuck out and shut the fuck up.
Oh God, the link tax and so on. Yes, I completely agree. A firm and swift Brexit out of the EU, so we can stand on the old White Cliffs of Dover and laugh at the EU getting further and further into a totalitarian
Or in
nightmare.
the wonderful
Fireworks and
wonderful
alcohol and
philosophy of Colin Furze, we shall build a giant 20-foot pulse jet and part of them.
Oh, I love that idea.
I
There's
can't
something to
condone
be
this
said.
kind of speech.
There's something to be said about building a gigantic. You know what? I don't know how I feel about hearing the sound of pulse jets over the White Cliffs of Dover.
Again,
the last time people sent people running quite a lot. Yeah. Although,
It's not when you hear it that you need to be worried; it's when you don't hear it.
oh,
Yes.
as my grandma used to say, yes, you're absolutely right. When it stopped buzzing, that was when it was dropping. So yeah, when they were overhead, you were okay when it was just going, and then the silence happens, and then kaboom! An entire street of people are dead. Thank you, Jones. Well done.
Let me just remind you that we have to deal with this every day from the Palestinians. We are very oppressed.
The problems with the Israeli-Palestinian border is not something I'm going to get into right now because I don't know enough about it, but it is something I wouldn't mind actually having a look at in
the
further
stream
detail.
seems to have failed.
Has the stream
Yeah,
failed?
It's still working.
Oh, well, it's not
Refresh
coming
it.
I'm still seeing it.
Refresh the
working.
page.
in. Oh, no, sorry. Okay, never mind. Anyway, I was about to leave. I shall speak to you all later.
Cool.
Take care.
Have a good evening.
See you later.
All right, take care, mate.
Bye.
So, did you guys hear about the great oceanic battle between Britain and France? I know it's old news, but
The oceanic battle between Britain and France, the Great Scallop War,
How,
you mean?
how old news are we going back to right now?
We're getting pretty old on this news here. Yeah, so at this point we'll be discussing Nelson and the Battle of Trafalgar. But yes, the Scallop War is, I believe, was pretty much resolved at the present moment with a case of
What was the resolution in the end? Did we just cede all our rights?
No, we didn't cede all our rights.
them.
We Theresa May, I believe, I basically completely bent over backwards and let the EU. I don't know. I can't remember the exact details, but it wasn't a good result for us. Our fishing fleet is not out there fishing scallops at the present moment, and everyone's a bit tense about it. But it's part of the whole EU Brexit deal. We've got to work out what's going off with the fisheries, and I'm pretty much putting money on the fact that the EU is going to shaft us on our fishing rights around England, because we should have quite a lot of them historically and geographically. We've got a lot of fishing rights. Europe has a lot less than we do, and they're not going to like it. We've had a lot of trouble over the last, good God, most of my life I can remember the Spanish fleets getting uppity with our fishermen, or the French and various other things. There's always been problems, except for the last 10, 15 years. To be honest, the EU did actually put some of that type of problem to bed, and the moment we're out, we're starting to see it happen again. So maybe fun times ahead on that front, but who knows?
Well, you should have known this would happen. You're in a lot of danger with this Brexit, you know.
I know, but you know, he who dares wins and all that, as mentioned earlier. It's merely a case of the EU is an undemocratic, unelected body that governs by dictation. And if you don't like it, you don't really get much choice about it. You can vote no, but they'll just make you vote again and again and again, as we saw with the Lisbon Treaty. And quite frankly, I'm very keen for England to get the hell out.
Just not under the Chequers deal.
Just not under the Chequers deal, because the Chequers deal is not getting out. That's vassalage.
Well, it looks like vassalage to me, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it's vassalage. It's okay. We'll abide by your rules. You can punish us however you like, but we don't get a say in it. You know, we basically may as well just go and sit in a tub of Vaseline and get ourselves nicely lubed up, and then bend over whenever Junkers wants us to under the Chequers deal. And somehow the EU still doesn't like that deal, so God knows what they want from us. But yeah,
you know my take on this, don't you, Trig?
I know, and I think you're right.
Marrowgate. And at last minute, graciously accept it to prevent us panicking.
Yeah,
and then we'll be celebrating in the streets, not realizing we've sold our lives to slavery.
Well, we haven't, because here's the thing. Here's the thing with the Chequers deal and any deal. No deal is final. No deal lasts for eternity. Yeah, if that deal that they set up for us is the wrong deal, and it starts to, and people suddenly realise it, we can renegotiate. And if they don't like us renegotiating it, well, there are ways to renegotiate things a little more strongly. And I don't want to sort of go down that route, but nobody holds somebody to a deal when both sides have weapons of mass destruction.
Well, what about when both sides' leaders want the same deal?
Well, when one side's leaders want the same deal and the people don't want that deal, then it's time for one side to get rid of their leader. And that may well be the case that needs to happen. But at the present moment in England, we've got to find a better alternative than Corbyn, because I quite like private property and food and, you know, all of that good stuff that you don't get under communist countries.
Electricity.
Electricity.
Oh, I like my money too.
You've got not having to eat your pets.
Yeah. No, I like my pet, and quite frankly, she's not fat
just
enough.
Jumped off my lap. She apparently heard you.
Yeah. I wouldn't get much more than a good day's meal out of my cat. No, it's not worth it. No. So socialism bad. Okay, all forms of socialism, be it national or international, global or communist, it all sucks.
Is the family unit still a socialist?
The family unit, I don't think the family
Nuclear
unit.
family.
The family unit isn't socialist. The family unit is some sort of basically democracy where voting is assigned at 18. So the kids get to live under the the rule of their parents who get the vote on how the household is run. And if the kid thinks
you
that,
grew up in a very different household to me. I'd say the family unit's more of a dictatorial patriarchy.
well, yeah, I was going to say, but when there's only
Best
two
kind of
when there's
thing.
only two people voting at the top and they're in unison, it does get a little dictatorial. But you know that's from the perspective of the child, and you know there's a reason why they sent me away from home when I was 11 and stuck me in a boarding school.
It's okay. Let it all out,
Let
buddy.
it all out. I know.
We're here for you.
It was terrible. It actually fucking was. But you know, this isn't a therapy session.
You know, some of my grandparents know what it was like to be sent off to some place, and you know, it was horrible.
Yeah. Right.
Alrighty.
So we've been running for about an hour and a half now. I think it's been we've had fun, and I think at this point we wrap it up because I'm running out of things to bring up at this point, and unless someone else has got something.
I don't.
I think
That'll do.
we knock it on the head and go play some computer games, or well, not computer games because my hands are fucked, but a board game or something. And you know what? I could do with getting something to eat too, because I'm more than a tad peckish.
And we could break some bread. You could eat that.
God.
Smart man.
You had to do it, didn't you?
Yeah,